G'day, welcome to The Long Way Forward, episode 5. In this episode, we're going to talk about a concept I call alignment, also known as when your life and your choices start pulling in the same direction. Have you ever felt busy but not moving forward? Like you're working hard, making decisions, doing all the right things, but something feels off. There's confusion, noise. That feeling often comes from misalignment. And today, I'm going to talk about what happens when the opposite begins to occur. When what you stand for starts matching how you actually live. Now, in the first few episodes, I spoke mostly about foundations. I talked about knowing what you stand for. Maybe picking one principle. If you can't pick 3, 4, 5, pick one. And starting with that, the one that's most important to you. Today is about the next step, alignment. Now, what alignment actually means is when your decisions, your behaviors, and your environment, personal, work, doesn't matter, all start moving in the same direction. It's not perfection. It doesn't mean life suddenly becomes magically easy, but it does become a lot simpler. It means friction decreases, stress decreases. You stop fighting the overthinking. You stop fighting yourself. Here's a really simple example about what I mean. If you stand for integrity, but you're always saying yes when you should really say no because it doesn't align with what you stand for, you're always saying yes. That's horrible. That's misalignment. If you stand for excellence, but you settle for average or mediocre because it's easier or avoids conflict, misalignment, you walk away disappointed every time. Know what I mean? If you stand for service, but you act selfishly, again, misalignment. Alignment is removing contradictions. And how does it feel? Well, I reckon you'll relate to this. Misalignment shows up as constant overthinking. Fatigue without progress because the wheels are spinning but you're not going anywhere. Frustration that you just can't explain. Sometimes it even builds into resentment. And across all of it, a lack of clarity. You often feel like you're working harder than everyone else just to stay in place. And that's not a motivation problem because you're working hard. You're just not getting the results or you're feeling frustrated. It's usually an alignment problem. Here's an example about how this might impact your career. Imagine two people with similar skill levels. One chooses roles based only on income or status. Now, for the first 10 years of my career, that was me, chasing the dollar, chasing the big title. But the other one chooses roles aligned with what they stand for. Maybe it's an employer who has values that align. Maybe it's a workplace culture that aligns with them. At first, from the outside, they might look the same. But come back in 5 years and have another look. The aligned person will grow faster. Why? Because their effort becomes sustainable. Their choices become so simple and energy increases instead of drains. They don't go home exhausted, they go home revitalized because they love what they do. In leadership, alignment shows up really strongly. If a leader acts inconsistently with their principles, says one thing, does another, doesn't walk the talk, teams feel it as instability. Trust erodes, people become cautious, but when leaders are aligned, people know what to expect. They feel safe. Predictability builds exactly that, psychological safety, and performance improves naturally because there's a trust factor at play. But alignment isn't just work. It's relationships, it's health, it's time. For example, if one of your key values is self-control, but you're always reacting and you live reactively, stress increases. If you stand for compassion, but you never allow yourself time to recover, you're going to be exhausted. And because you're exhausted, you don't have the energy to be compassionate. If you're aligned and self-aware, it reduces internal conflict. The overthinking, the doubt, the self-questioning, it all goes away. The parameters are there. And in fact, what we find is that one of the biggest advantages of aligning your decisions with your values and your lifestyle with your values is faster decisions. Instead of asking, should I do this? Why should I do this? What could go wrong? You start asking, does this meet my values? Does this align with what I stand for? If the answer is yes, it's a really simple decision. High performers don't just think faster. They decide faster because their filters are already set. Let's check this as an exercise. Here's something practical I'd really like you to do this week. Remember the principle you chose in episode 4? Now ask yourself, where in my life am I living this well? Where am I compromising it? And what is one small adjustment from those compromises that might move me closer to living it with alignment? You don't need to flip your whole life on its head, but if you start thinking about it through that lens, it gets easier. So I have to warn you that this comes with a warning. Aligning your values with your behaviors will not make you popular with everyone. Because from the outside, it might mean that you start doing things differently. Your clarity can make other people uncomfortable. And when your standards become clear, in some situations will just naturally fall away. And it might feel like loss, but it's not. It doesn't align. It's not loss at all. It's correction. And in the long term, when alignment strengthens, something subtle happens. You'll know it when it's there. You suddenly become calmer, more consistent, more confidence. Not loud, flashy confidence, but quiet, self-assured, peaceful confidence. Because you trust yourself. And trust in yourself is one of the strongest foundations for growth, performance, and leadership. Remember the self-doubt I spoke of earlier? Alignment builds trust in yourself. Completely different. Now, looking forward into the next episode, we're going to go deeper into the idea of alignment. Not just what it is, but what actually begins to happen when you fully live in line with what you stand for. Now remember, those changes are often subtle at first, but over time, not only do they reshape your confidence, your decision-making, your relationships, and even the opportunities that show up in your life will also change because you're walking a different path. We'll look at what that really looks like in practical, real-world terms so that you can start recognizing it as it starts to happen in your own life. Now, in closing this episode, I'll have to say that alignment isn't about becoming someone new. It's about becoming consistent with who you already decided, maybe years ago, who you already decided you want to be. Small corrections, repeated over time. That's how momentum builds. And this is the long way forward. Thank you for stopping by my podcast. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. Please drop us a comment. I do reply. And I look forward to seeing you in new episodes. Thanks.